What's up guys, Zanara here, and today I'm going to be going over the 3 new cards that were revealed yesterday. So today is March 24th, 2023, and yesterday was Thursday, because today is Friday at the time of recording. So the next stream revealed 2 of the Cycle Triple R's that will be in Festival Collection for Lyrical Monasterio, and a magazine promo for both Friends and Powerful. So I'm going to be going over all 3 and just giving my thoughts and explain the effects. So let's get it started. For the first card that they revealed on next stream is a grade 2, and her name is Coloring One's Wish Vashblank. So I'll explain the skills first. The first ability is Auto. When this card is discarded from your hand during your ride phase, cost Soul Boss 1 and put this card on the bottom of your deck. You draw 1. The second ability is Auto. When placed on Rigard Circle, if you have Persona Ride this turn, cost Caramelos 1, choose one of your Vanguards, and until the end of turn, it gets continuous Vanguard Circle. All of your front row units get 5,000 power. So this card is actually really good. So the first ability to be able to essentially get your wash back and get a true +1 from most of the ride lines. They give you a +1, sometimes a +2, is really good. And you're able to still have the same amount of cards in your deck. Since you draw it in, you can put this card right back, and you're able to dig further in your deck. But the second ability is where is really is true strength is at. Most of the lyrical decks Persona Ride, and some decks even gain more power, such in the case as Kyoka. One of the decks I think this helps out the most is the Persona Kairi variant, since your front row isn't really as strong as other decks Persona Ride turns, such as like Kyoka or Lutetia. And being able to add that extra 5k to the front row can allow some of the lyrical decks like Hathor to push even harder and to really make a decisive turn, since some decks can multi-attack and some decks really want that extra power. It is a counter boss though, you do need a Persona Ride, but with this set in particular, the set 1 bosses all have another grade 3. Thanks to the dress up mechanic, which the dress up mechanic allows the new boss to have the same name as the old boss. So for like Willista, the new Willista has the dress up mechanic, so she counts as Prismagica Willista. So that allows Ophelia to be used even on her as a grade 3. So for this card, I actually think it's very good for Lyrical as a whole. This will not affect grade 4 Kairi because you cannot Persona Ride, but then again, you get a passive 5k when you call a Rigard Circle, a card to the Rigard Circle anyway. But this also buffs the Vanguard, and it allows like all these Persona Ride decks to have a little bit more power than most normal other decks. For example, like Degria's Order, she allows Persona Ride to be 15k. This is basically like a 2-card combo like that if you Persona Ride as well. So all in all, I think it's a very good card that is going to see play as some of the decks, since there's a lot more space as some decks, and some decks didn't really know what to run other than like the good generic cards. And now if you Persona Ride, you have more opportunity to increase your front row power. The second Triple R, that's the cycle card that they revealed, is a grade 3, and her name is Snuggle Up to the Moonlight Alhidid, and she is a ghost. So just 2 unique abilities. The first one is Continuous Rigard Circle and Guardian Circle. If your opponent's drive check or damage check has revealed a trigger unit during this turn, this unit gets power plus 10,000 and shield plus 10,000. And the second ability is Auto Rigard Circle. At the end of the battle in which this unit was boosted, cost Soul Boss 1, perform one of the following. Choose one of your Rigards in the same column as this unit and return it to hand. Cost, remove from play an over trigger from your drop zone. Choose up to 1 unit card from your hand will grade equal or less to your Vanguard and call it to Rigard Circle. So this card, let me talk about the first ability first. the fact that it scales due to your opponent getting a trigger, I think it's really nice. Now many decks might not be able to really utilize both skills, but the first ability being alive from pretty much all the decks if your opponent checks a trigger, especially something against like Hex Orb that can guarantee a trigger, or decks like Ava that are able to compress their deck to get a trigger. You have more shield in your deck, so that's really, really good if you have this grade 3 in your hand, as well as you're able to guard with it early. Now, as well as the 10,000 power, you're able to actually hit over a defensive trigger. So if they're on 13k, they hit a trigger, this card will automatically be 23, and it's throughout the turn too. So if you somehow call this during your battle phase, and they hit a trigger, this will automatically get 10k. And as well as like if you draw this from a draw trigger and your opponent checked a trigger that turn, she will be a 10k shield. Now the second ability of you being able to bounce back your boosted rear guard, I think it's pretty interesting. Now in most decks, I could see this maybe played in Kairi, just to be able to bounce back like your Eileen's or just your booster against some of the upcoming meta decks, or just some upcoming decks that like to retire or clear your board or bind your stuff. I could see this being played in some decks just to keep that important booster. Like there's a grade 1 Hazard that would love to keep her booster out on the field, and you could just bounce it back. Sometimes you might want to bounce Yuika if you have Yuika. You could Soul Blast 2 to bounce the column back. Or sometimes you call a trigger because you do not have any boosters, you can just bounce it back. Or if you call the trigger from an effect, you can bounce it back to hand. Now the second ability, to be able to remove an over trigger from your drop zone, and you can choose a unit card from your hand and you can call it. I think it allows you to get extra attack and allows decks that didn't have that extra reach to be able to have that one extra attack if you drew into your over trigger and you guarded with it. So it gives you some net play to be able to get more attacks. However, you can only do this once, so it's important for you to like save it for an important moment if your opponent's like at 4 or 5 damage, or mainly 5. But it's really up to you. Depending on the card you call, it can like get you more cards, it can allow you to get even more attacks. But I think overall this card is really good. I think it's especially good for Feltyrosa, just because that she has, well, this card is a ghost, as well as she scales, which is an issue that Feltyrosa has. A lot of your rear guards that isn't Eleanor or Ingrid do not scale in power, and the cards that do scale in power do not return themselves to the deck without Irene, which boosts the unit back. Now with Irene in the same column as this, you can use Irene's effect. You can use her effect first to return her to hand. To return Eileen to hand, and then you can use Irene to bounce her back to hand. So you could clear both of the ghosts in the same column, as well as just her being able to become a recyclable unit in Ghost, thanks to Dylene, the triple R, is really strong in my opinion. So I'm not sure how many decks would run this. I know Felty might have a chance of running this just because it's a ghost and you can call it. And you can have a potential 6 to 7 attacks. Since it doesn't specify open rear guard circle, you call it to the front row, you can have more attacks. So overall, I think this is a really good card in my opinion. Lastly, of the cards that was revealed, this was a promo. A magazine promo for both Powerful and Friends, and her name is Special Moment with You, Strass. So she only has one ability, and it's continuous. Oh, she has 2 abilities. Continuous Rigor Circle. If the total number of rear guards with the Friend or Powerful ability is 3 or more, this unit gets boost. And the second ability is Auto. When this unit is placed during your main phase, choose a card from your soul and put it into your drop zone. If you have a Vanguard with the Friend or Powerful ability, you may choose a card with the Friend or Powerful ability for your drop zone and call it to Rigor Circle. If you caught a card, you cannot call cards from drop zone until the end of turn. Removing a card from your soul is a mandatory ability. So let me talk about the first ability. Both of Friends and Powerful, this card does not have the actual ability. So it's more of a support card. So for Friends, if you don't have enough friends to activate like the friend ability or Fortia, it might not help you as much. But the fact that she's a booster, that means you can just place her behind Fortia, and you're still able to activate the ability if you have if you can meet the condition of 3 or more friends, which could be an issue since Friends doesn't really Friends has the friend ability, but I know they play Ducala, able to draw more cards, as some players don't have all Rigars are friends, because Ducala is not a friend, and sometimes they might play that new double R from set 3. No, it was for set 3. No. Yeah, for set 3, sorry. That allows you to countercharge. So that might be an issue for Friends a bit. But the main ability of both decks being able to call a friend or a powerful unit from your drop zone is very strong. It's for the mandatory cost of removing a card from your soul. If you have no soul, you could still pay for the condition. So this works amazingly well with Powerful. That you want your soul to be emptied, and if you don't have any soul, it doesn't matter, you can still get the +1. For Friends, this could be an issue if you use the Mermaid Girl, that's able to return herself to hand, but I've known that some people have been dropping it for Roxella, and you're able to just bounce anyway for Roxella without any soul box cost, so you can easily just pay for the cost like this. As well as being able to bounce her with Roxella is kind of strong, since you can oh, it has to be the front ability, my bad. But either way, you're able to call stuff like Melty from your drop zone, Roxella if it got retired, or if it got retired or attacked into, important front pieces that you might want, and I think it's a strong card for both decks. For Powerful, you're able to call out your grade 3s. You can do this also with Friends too, but I think it's more I think it's stronger and Powerful, since you're able to just counterblast to have like a 23k attacker, or on hit I draw. Even though it's for a CB, you could still pass the power to another rear guard. You're able to swing the tempo very early, but the fact that this card is mostly costless, even if you have no soul, is really strong for both decks. So I think it's meta dependent depending on the player. Right now I think it's a 4-of probably in Powerful. For Friends, I think it's a tech slot, just because you're able to bounce stuff already, especially if you play something like Yuika. Powerful doesn't really need Yuika, nor can really pay for the cost for Yuika, so this card is perfect to be able to just call retired cards like your Riley's or your Tiras from your drop zone, or just cards you want from your drop zone to be in play. So this gives the deck a lot more boosters, and it gives you at least an early game push, since you're going to be removing cards from your soul. Sometimes you might discard your key pieces, which was an issue for me, especially with Powerful discarding like your main combo maker. Now you can just call her and you can get that piece back, so you're getting more of a plus in the early game. So this also applies to Friends as well. You could go more of an aggro route too, and I think it helps both decks in different ways. So overall, I think this is a solid promo. It's not gonna boost both of the decks to like a very competitive standpoint unless I'm proven wrong, but we'll just have to see the future of this card and see how strong will it be. And that is all for the video. So if you liked the video, I'll be doing more of these in the future. We'll be getting more reveals. Even next week we'll be getting a double R, a generic card. I think it might be our heal trigger, but we'll have to see. So if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. I'm Zenarion, and I'm signing off.